I never thought I'd come back from war, only to find the battlefield waiting for me on my own front lawn. When I pulled into my quiet suburban cul-de-sac that afternoon, I expected the same things I'd left behind. Trimmed hedges, neat driveways, the smell of somebody grilling steaks down the block. Instead, I was met by flashing blue lights and 3 police cruisers parked directly in front of my house. I cut the engine and just sat there, my fingers frozen on the steering wheel. 2 officers leaned casually against their cars, sipping coffee, like they weren't trespassing on the one place I had carved out of the world for myself. Neighbors huddled in little clusters, arms folded, whispering in low voices. And right there at the center of it all, like a spider at the middle of a web, stood him, Councilman Richard Keene, the HOA president. Tall, pale, crisp navy blazer, hair slicked back with the arrogance of someone who'd never had to fight for a thing in his life. And when he looked at me, he smiled, not the polite kind, but the smug curl of a man who believed he had already won. I forced my hands to unclench, opened the door, and stepped out. "Afternoon, Miss Carter," one officer said. His tone was neutral, but his eyes flicked nervously to Keene, as if waiting for instructions. "What's going on?" I asked, my voice sharp enough to cut glass. My combat boots hit the pavement with deliberate weight, that sound used to make insurgents flinch overseas. Today, it didn't even ruffle my neighbors. Keene smoothed his blazer and strolled forward, as if he owned the place. Just a routine safety check. Some of the residents expressed concerns. "You understand?" No, I didn't understand. Not at all. My house was my anchor. After years of deployments, firefights in desert heat, and nights with the sound of my own heartbeat drown out sleep, I bought this place to start over. Paid every dime clean. Renovated it myself. Repainted the walls with my own hands. And yet here was Keene standing in my yard, as if he'd found a crack in my foundation and meant to pry it open. "Step aside," I told him, walking toward my front door. "This is my property." But as soon as I touched the doorknob, I froze. It was unlocked. I always lock my door. SEAL training drilled paranoia into your bones. I checked locks the way normal people check texts. Once in the morning, once before bed. Never forgot. I pushed inside. The air was too still, too staged. And then I saw it. On my kitchen counter sat a half-empty mug of coffee. The problem? I hadn't been home in 2 weeks. I'd been finishing a short contract out of state. The mug wasn't mine. I turned slowly, scanning the room. My boots from deployment, the ones I kept tucked in the back of my closet, were standing neatly by the door, their laces tied in a way I hadn't tied them since BUD/S training, the SEAL pipeline. Whoever had been here knew things about me. Intimate things. Keene leaned against a frame, voice dripping with false concern. "See, this is why we had to step in. The neighborhood can't feel safe when situations like this happen. We're just protecting the community." I locked eyes with him. Calm, controlled, the way they taught us before breaching a hostile compound. "You broke into my house." His smile never wavered. Or maybe he left the door open. The officers shifted uncomfortably, but none of them contradicted him. Not one. Over the next week, the violations piled up like tripwires. First, it was small things. Mail disappearing. Utility bills opened, a drawer in my bedroom left slightly ajar. Then larger ones. A framed photo of my parents knocked face down on the nightstand. My uniform shifted on their hangers. Someone was cataloging me inch by inch. I reported it. Of course, filed complaints. But the police shrugged, calling an HOA matter. And the HOA? Keene himself sent the notices. Fines for grass an inch too long. Claimed that my fence was against code. Threats of property seizure for non-compliance. It felt orchestrated. A campaign. Every move designed to destabilize me. And the whispers followed. Neighbors crossing the street instead of waving. A woman at the grocery store clutching her child's hand tighter when I passed. Online posts about the unstable veteran on Maple Lane, claiming I was violent, dangerous, all under fake names. But the phrasing had Keene's fingerprints all over it. I wanted to fight. God, did I want to fight. But this wasn't a war zone where I could put an enemy in my sights. This was bureaucracy, paper battles, psychological warfare, and worst of all, it was public. One morning, I stepped outside to find my medals, the ones I'd earned through blood and sand, scattered on the lawn for everyone to see. Neighbors whispered from their porches, as if I'd staged it myself. My chest burned, not with shame, but with the unbearable humiliation of being stripped bare. Still, I wasn't without weapons. I dug out every deed, every lease agreement, every scrap of paper tying me legally to my home. I found allies where I could, a retired sergeant down the block who slipped me recordings of HOA meetings, a young neighbor who whispered, "I know they're lying about you. I saw King go into your house when you weren't home." For a moment, hope flickered. I had proof, documentation. Then came the twist. One night, after triple-checking my locks, I found a folded letter slipped under my bedroom door. Not the front door, the bedroom door. Inside, in sharp block letters, it read, "You don't own what you think you own." My hands trembled, but my mind sharpened the way it always did before combat. This wasn't just harassment. This was infiltration. They had a key. They had access. And Keen knew. The next day, he passed me on the sidewalk, his expression cool, smug. He leaned close enough that only I could hear and murmured, "Navy SEALs are trained for combat. But this is community life. Let's see who survives it." That night, I lay awake in my own bed, staring at the ceiling. Every nerve in my body lit up like a minefield. Somewhere in the house, a floorboard creaked. I wasn't alone. The floorboard creaked again, soft but deliberate, like someone shifting their weight just enough to let me know they were there. My body tensed instinctively. Training surged back, muscle memory sharpening, every sense. I slid silently from bed, feet flat, breath held, scanning the shadows. The creak came from the hallway outside my bedroom. I reached for the baseball bat I kept propped against the wall. Not my service weapon. I wasn't about to give Keen or anyone else the satisfaction of labeling me the unstable veteran with guns. No, this battle wasn't about firepower. It was about perception, control. Still, a bat in my hands felt reassuring. "Who's there?" My voice came low, firm, the same tone I used to clear compounds overseas. No answer. I inched toward the door, every nerve ending sparking, heart hammering in slow, heavy thuds. The handle was cold under my grip. I yanked it open in one swift motion. The hallway was empty, silent, still, but the faint smell of cologne lingered in the air. Not mine, not anything I'd ever bought. My stomach flipped. Someone had been in my house again. I moved room to room, clearing each one with the precision of a soldier. Closet doors, bathroom, pantry, even under the bed. Nothing, but the smell followed me like a ghost. By dawn, I was sitting at the kitchen table, eyes raw from lack of sleep, staring at the folded letter I'd found the night before. "You don't own what you think you own." That morning, Keen was waiting at the mailbox, as if he knew exactly how little sleep I'd gotten. "Rough night?" he asked smoothly, his tone dripping with fake sympathy. I didn't answer. I ripped my mail free, flipping through the envelopes. Most were junk, but one stopped me cold. An official-looking notice, HOA letterhead. Notice of property review hearing. Scheduled for next week. Keen's smirk deepened. "We'll be discussing your compliance issues. Attendance is mandatory." I tightened my grip until the paper crumpled. "You're not taking my house." His eyes glittered, cool and smug. "We'll see." The days crawled forward, each one carrying some new violation, some fresh humiliation. My garbage can disappeared, then reappeared 2 days later with a fine taped to it for being left at the curb too long. My power flickered off for 4 hours one night, while every other house on the block blazed bright. A package I'd been waiting for, a care box from an old SEAL buddy, arrived torn open, the contents dumped across my porch like trash. And always, Keen hovered, sometimes smiling, sometimes shaking his head with mock pity, sometimes whispering just loud enough for others to hear. "She's unstable. She can't handle civilian life. She needs intervention." The whispers spread like oil across water. By the time I walked into the grocery store that Friday, 3 people turned their backs to me at once. That night, I scrolled through my phone and found a post on the neighborhood's community board. A blurry photo of me carrying groceries into my house. Captioned, "Dangerous veteran spotted. Keep your kids close." My stomach twisted. Someone was photographing me, tracking me, but I wasn't powerless. I gathered every shred of evidence, photos, recordings, testimonies. The retired sergeant helped me compile it into a neat, bulletproof dossier. My young ally printed screenshots of the fake posts, timestamps intact. For the first time in weeks, hope stirred. If I could bring this to the property hearing, expose Keen's scheme in front of the board, maybe, just maybe, I could reclaim my dignity. The night before the hearing, I set my evidence neatly on the kitchen table, ready to deliver my counterstrike. That was the night my locks failed. At 2:14 a.m., I woke to the sound of my front door opening. Not forced, not broken. Opening. I grabbed the bat again, creeping down the hall. The air was different. Cool, unsettled, as if the whole house had inhaled and was holding its breath. The kitchen light was on, and there, sitting casually at my table, was Richard Keen. He was flipping through my dossier, page by page, like it belonged to him. I froze in the doorway, fury flooding my veins. "How did you get in here?" He didn't look up, just smiled faintly. "You'd be surprised what a master key can do. HOA privilege." I gripped the bat tighter. "That's illegal." Finally, he looked at me. His eyes were calm, predatory. "Illegal? Or necessary for the safety of this community? These people trust me, Miss Carter. They believe me. What do you think they'll believe when I tell them you attacked me in your own kitchen?" The implication hit like a sucker punch. He was staging me, setting me up. "You're insane," I whispered. "No," he said smoothly, stacking my evidence into a neat pile. "I'm careful, and I've been doing this a long time." Before I could move, he slid the dossier into his blazer and stood. "See you at the hearing." And just like that, he walked out, leaving my front door wide open behind him. The next day at the HOA hearing, my seat was empty. Keen stood at the front, file in hand, spinning his narrative to the board and neighbors. "She's unstable. She fabricates stories. We've all seen the posts, heard the disturbances. She needs help, not a house she can't manage." And my proof? My evidence? Gone. Stolen. I sat outside in my car, fists clenched, watching through the tinted glass as neighbors nodded along with his lies. For the first time, doubt crept in. Maybe I couldn't win this fight. Maybe the battlefield wasn't mine to claim. But then, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. A photo. My bedroom. Taken just minutes ago. And in the corner of the photo, half hidden in shadow, was a figure, watching, waiting. Below it, a single line of text. "You don't own what you think you own." My blood ran cold, because this time it wasn't Keen style. This was someone else. Someone inside my house. The photo burned in my vision, even after I closed the message. My bedroom, my sanctuary, violated. My first thought was Keen, but the style was wrong, sloppy, almost mocking. Keen would have used that photo as evidence, not as a taunt. This felt different. A wild card. My training kicked in. I scanned the parking lot for my car. Nothing but neatly trimmed hedges, SUVs, and a mother pushing a stroller down the sidewalk. Too normal. Too quiet. I knew one thing. I couldn't sit frozen in my car while anyone was inside my house. I forced my hands to stop trembling, started the engine, and pulled away from the HOA meeting. Not home. Not yet. I circled the block twice, making sure no one tailed me. Then I parked the street over and cut across a neighbor's yard, slipping through shadows until I had a clear line of sight to my house. Curtains drawn. Lights off. No movement. But the front door was ajar. I felt it before I saw it. A subtle wrongness in the way the air seemed to move. A house should feel sealed, contained. But mine leaked tension like a cracked hull. I gripped my bat tighter, heart pounding steady and controlled, and moved. Low steps, weight on the outside of my feet. SEAL training had taught me how to stalk death itself. The porch creaked under my weight. I froze, listening. Nothing. I pushed the door with the tip of the bat. It swung wider with a lazy groan. The smell hit me next. Not Keen's cologne. This was sharper, muskier, like damp leather and sweat. "Who's there?" My voice sliced the silence. No answer. Inside, the living room looked untouched. Couch cushions lined up. Remote on the table. Except for one thing. My family photo. It wasn't on the mantel where I'd left it. It was on the floor. The glass cracked straight across my face. My throat tightened, but I forced my body to keep moving. Step by step, I cleared each room again, bat raised, senses screaming. When I reached my bedroom, the door was wide open. The bedspread was rumpled, drawers half open, closet light on. And in the center of the bed lay my Navy SEAL trident. Not stolen, not destroyed, displayed, like a signature. The phone buzzed in my pocket again. Another message. You train for war, but you're fighting the wrong enemy. No number, no name, just black text on a white background. I backed out of the room slowly, bat steady, until I was out the front door again. My neighbors were just starting to file out from the hearing. They laughed, chatted, waved at each other like we all lived in a perfect postcard neighborhood. And there I stood on the edge of my lawn, realizing I was surrounded by enemies, some obvious, some hidden. That night, I didn't sleep. I pushed my dresser against the door, double-checked every window, and sat in the corner with my bat across my knees, forcing myself to stay awake. But exhaustion is a predator too. At some point, my eyelids drooped. When I woke, sunlight was bleeding through the curtains. My phone buzzed again. This time it was a video. I hit play. The camera angle was low, shaky, like someone crouched outside. My house came into frame, lit by the pale glow of moonlight. Then movement, me, through the window, asleep in my chair with the bat across my knees. The camera zoomed slowly, almost lovingly, onto my face. Then the screen went black, and the final message appeared. You can't watch everything. You can't guard everywhere. We're already inside. By the afternoon, I knew I had to act. Sitting back, waiting, reacting. It was exactly what Keen wanted. Exactly what this new intruder fed on. I reached out to my allies again, the retired sergeant and the young neighbor who'd helped me with evidence. We met at the sergeant's garage, surrounded by tools and oil-stained concrete. They're playing psychological warfare, the sergeant said, flipping to the screenshots. Keen wants to destroy your reputation. Whoever this new guy is, he wants to break you. The younger one leaned forward. Then we flip it, hit them before they hit us. I thought about it. For years, the Navy had taught me that defense is just delayed defeat. The only way to survive was to strike first. I nodded slowly. We set a trap. That evening, I left my lights off, doors unlocked. Everything about my house screamed vulnerability. But hidden in the shadows, I waited, bat in one hand, phone camera on in the other, ready to capture proof. Hours passed. Midnight, then 1 a.m., then 2. Just when my eyelids began to betray me, I heard it, the soft turn of a doorknob, the faint scrape of shoes on my tile floor. Someone was inside. I steadied my breathing, muscles taut, heart beating a drumline in my ears. The figure moved deeper into the living room, silhouette barely outlined in the glow from the street lamp outside. Tall, broad shoulders, hooded sweatshirt. Not Keen. The intruder bent down, picked up one of my framed certificates off the shelf, my Navy commendation, and studied it with a slow, almost reverent nod. Then he whispered, "You fought for them, and now they take from you. Same as me." His voice was low, rasping, unfamiliar. I raised the bat, stepped forward into the faint light. "Who the hell are you?" He turned slowly, and for the first time I saw his face. White, mid-40s, scar across his jaw, and his smile was too calm, too knowing. "I'm the one who was here before Keen," he said softly. "The one who knows the real history of this house." My grip tightened. "What do you want?" He tilted his head, eyes glittering. "To show you the truth. This home isn't yours. It never was. You just don't know the story yet. Before I could react, he stepped backward into shadows and vanished like smoke. I lunged after him, swung the bat, empty air. The front door was wide open again. By the time I reached the yard, he was gone. No car, no footsteps, just silence. The next morning, a new notice was taped to my door. Immediate property forfeiture hearing, due to safety concerns. The date, 3 days away. Keen was escalating. But this new man, the scarred intruder, was playing a longer game. I had no choice. I would fight them both. But as I pulled the notice free, something else fluttered to the ground. A second note, handwritten this time. You don't own what you think you own. And neither does Keen. Ask about the Carter file. I froze. Carter, my name. Someone knew more about me, about my family, than even I did. The house wasn't just under attack. It was hiding a secret both Keen and the intruder were willing to destroy me to keep. The photo on my phone blurred as my grip tightened. My own bedroom, my own walls, and that shadowy figure crouched just inside, like a parasite already feeding off my life. It wasn't Keen. His attacks were loud, public, meant to shame me. This was intimate, surgical. Someone else was in the game. I dialed my retired sergeant ally with shaking fingers. Slow down, he said when he heard the edge of my voice. Read me the message again. I did. Silence stretched on the line. Then his gravelly voice returned, lower, heavier. There's something you need to know about that house, Carter, about your family. You ever hear the Carter file? The word slammed into me like a door unhinged. My blood chilled. The what? Not over the phone. He said quickly, meet me. Midnight. Same garage. By midnight, I was there, heart rattling like a snare drum. He locked the garage door behind me, double-checked the windows, then slid a thin, battered folder across a workbench. Carter, confidential. It looked decades old. This house, he said, tapping the cover, wasn't just picked for you. It was tied to your father. Back in the 80s, the Navy used certain properties to keep tabs on families connected to classified programs. Some of those homes weren't really owned by the people living in them. My pulse kicked. You're telling me my father was part of something. And when he died, they never closed the file, which means legally he hesitated, watching my face. The deed is messy. Easier for someone like Keen or whoever's feeding him to challenge your claim. I flipped open the folder. Old surveillance photos. Handwritten notes. Maps of the neighborhood long before it was built up. And at the bottom, my own name. Updated. Active. Someone had been tracking me for years. The next day, I didn't wait for Keen to make his move. I marched straight to the HOA office, folder under my arm. He was there, of course. Perfectly pressed suit. Predatory calm. You don't belong here, he said smoothly as I entered. I tossed the Carter file onto the table. His eyes flickered, just for a second. You've been playing with smoke, I said, voice steady. But this is fire. You're not fighting a veteran anymore, Keen. You're fighting someone who knows the rules of engagement. For the first time, his smirk faltered. That night, my door didn't creak. My floorboard stayed silent. But at 3:07 a.m., a brick shattered my front window. I dropped into a crouch, bat ready. No intruder followed. Just a brick wrapped in paper. A note. Keen isn't your real enemy. He's just a pawn. Meet me where it started. The old community well. Tomorrow. Alone. The handwriting matched the scar man's. The well sat on the far edge of the subdivision, fenced off, forgotten. By the time I got there, dawn was bleeding orange across the horizon. He was waiting. The scarred man. You finally came, he rasped. What do you want from me? I demanded. His eyes gleamed. The truth. Keen thinks he's running this neighborhood, but he's just cleaning up history. The Carter file? It's not about property. It's about what your father left behind. I gritted my teeth. You're lying. He shook his head slowly. Go beneath the floorboards in your basement. There's a box. your father's box. That's why they'll never let you rest here. That's why they'll strip you of this house if you fight the wrong way. I stepped closer, at my side. And you? Why help me? His scarred jaw tightened. Because they took my house, too. Different decade, same machine. For the first time, I saw not just menace in his face, but grief. Before I could speak again, headlights flared behind us. Keen's SUV. He stepped out slowly, calm as ever, but this time carrying something I'd never seen before, my dossier tucked under one arm, and in the other, a gun. Touching, Keen said smoothly. Really, but this ends tonight. He leveled the weapon at the scarred man, then shifted it toward me. You're both liabilities, and the board only needs one narrative. Time slowed. My breath deepened, body moving on instinct. Keen's finger tightened on the trigger, and I moved. The next seconds blurred into chaos. A sharp swing of the bat, the gun clattering to the dirt, the scarred man lunging, tackling Keen, both of them crashing against the rusted fence by the well. I grabbed the weapon, pointed it straight at Keen's chest. Enough! I snapped, voice steel. For the first time, real fear flickered in his eyes. The scarred man straightened, breathing hard. He's just the surface, Carter. If you take him down, another will come. The machine doesn't stop. I held Keen in my sights. My hands were steady. My choice was clear. But then Keen smiled, slow, snake-like. You think taking me out gives you peace? Open the box under your floorboards. Then you'll see who really owns you. That night, I did. I tore up the basement planks until my fingers bled, until splinters tore into my palms. And finally, I found it, an old steel lockbox, Navy insignia etched faintly across the top. I pried it open with a crowbar. Inside were files, photos, names, records of experiments, surveillance, operations I had never been cleared to know. And at the bottom, a sealed envelope with my name, Natavia Carter. My hands shook as I tore it open. A single page, my father's handwriting. If you're reading this, they found you. This house isn't just shelter. It's a vault. And you, Natavia, you were never supposed to inherit it. But now you must protect it. Because what's inside doesn't belong to us. It belongs to them. And they will never stop coming. The truth spread through me like ice water. This wasn't about an HOA or a smug neighbor. It was bigger, older. I folded the letter, slid it into my pocket, and stared at the open lockbox. The house had been my battlefield, my cage. But now I understood. It was also my inheritance. And my war wasn't over. Not even close. What do you think Natavia should do next? Was Keen just a pawn? Or do you think the truth about the Carter file goes deeper than we've seen? I'd love to hear your thoughts, theories, and predictions down in the comments. If you enjoyed this series and want more gripping suspense stories like this, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss the next drop. Thank you so much for watching and supporting. Your comments and shares mean the world to me. I'll be in the comments section reading what you think Natavia should do next, so let's talk about it.